welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis show. And here on Newsfile, we put Ghana first. And in the absence of George Anda, Gary Nimako Mafo is here. He's lawyer and member of the NPP's communication team. Gary, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Great. Now, I'll get to some of your messages, but Salom Ranti and Co., I have noted your bashing on social media about not inviting Imani into the studio. But what I can assure you is that definitely Imani has been heard all over the week, and most of their issues have been flipped to the minister. It is the reason the minister actually felt that I was a bit, stifling him as I kept pushing all the Imani questions to him. But why not? This matter is still on, so there's a lot more time to discuss it. You can agree with me, Imani has been on Joy for almost the entire week. So there is no any sinister or whatever thing that some of you are suggesting. No, absolutely not. So some of your messages that you have sent in. That's a lot. Where do I start from? Let me see if I can start from the bottom of those who are sending some of the message. Foga Nukunu says that George Anda is no longer speaking the occupiers. The contract is dubious and the president should intervene. Freddie Nyakon says Franklin Kujo or a rep of Imani should have been on the program. Thank you. You say it sounds one-sided. Now, Suleiman Anuhu says the president of Imani Africa is not helping the matters of NCA deal by moving to a radio station to radio station, TV station to TV station. Meanwhile, we have a special prosecutor in office, and there are courts that can deal with the matter. You say Dogon Yaro says that the minister should abandon a sinking ship. You mean the deputy minister? Silvanus Doche Atoklo Jr. says that George is talking about real time. So I ask, how much has this deal brought to us, Ghanaians, for what we have paid them? Okay, that's the GVG so far. Kojo Adjuman Yeboah says, you want to discuss a different matter. We'll deal with some other matters later. George Sunudako says that Honorable George Anda has been arguing strongly in support of the Kelni GVG contract, and that is commendable coming from a government official. However, how did this come about? Suba wasn't doing real-time monitoring, but was instead reviewing CVR for their analysis, and this could be done by NCA. The point is, Suba wasn't doing this because they didn't have capacity, but rather the telcos were preventing same from happening. We, however, understand that the telcos are now willing to allow for the integration of Kelni GVG. My question is, what has changed? If the telcos have now agreed to allow for third-party integration, shouldn't Suba be given the opportunity to continue with their real-time monitoring? Why the need to abrogate their contract? Okay, you have a very long one, but this is how much I can read. Ali Jamal says, please, why is Mr. Anda talking on behalf of GVG? Don't they have representatives to talk for them instead of government doing their PR work? I do rather see a rep of GVG doing the talking for them. Okay, I didn't get that last bit. Okay, so King Gorazo says that here we go again, Kwabena Donko exposing his ignorance on the various procurement systems. Shiraz Seidu says that Ghana is in serious trying moment, considering how the nation is engulfed in pockets of corruption. Ghanaians must simply change the change that they made in December 7, 2016. Maybe I read one or two more. Nanaya Opreko in Manchester says, it's better for you as a moderator not to take a mischievous stand on this GVG deal and to solely rely on Imani. Imani is not a repository of knowledge and research work, so please be fair. Okay, so sometimes you don't really know what to do. And when George himself was getting out of here, he was saying, look, why you were being too... And Imani says, you should bring us on. You are not doing us a fair, it's bias. Okay, so where do we stand? So thank you very much. We just do our job. We have no interest in these matters. Ghana is a center. Daniel Mensah says, okay, all right, Daniel, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And Samuel Farihan Otu, on track record of the company, can we not interview any IT engineer from the said company? Thank you. Right, so maybe we can now deal with Kwesi Nyantakyi. It's really about him, isn't it? On the 6th of June, Anas is premiering his latest spy projects. And the President of the Republic has had the rare privilege of seeing about 5 minutes of that. And the 5 minutes or so that he has seen has, led him to consult. And the consultations concluded that he ought to have the police pick up Kwesi Nyantakyi and investigate him. Matters arising, Kwesi Nyantakyi has been arrested, and we have all been discussing. We are told that an MP, Kabu, is also in line to attend to the CID over these matters. Let's follow up a bit on what has happened in the week as far as this matter is concerned and come to the studio to discuss them.
The very celebrated journalist of our time, Mr. Anas Aremiao Anas, through his company Tiger Eye, have conducted some investigations. They have since advertised the premiering of that investigations. The president has had the rare privilege and benefits of aspects of this investigative piece. Having been seized with these facts, the president, upon consultation with his attorneys and other stakeholders and experts in government, is fully satisfied that a prima facie basis has been established for criminal investigations to be launched into the revelations of Mr. Aremiao's investigations. And in this documentary, Mr. Kwesi Nyantakyi, the president of the Ghana Football Association, is supposedly seen attempting to use the name of the president, the vice president, and other senior members of government to induce some so-called potential investors into our country to part with various sums of money. The president takes a very serious view of this. The president thinks that this falls within potential confines of criminal conduct. He has since instructed the legally mandated state security agency, the Criminal Investigation Department of the Ghana Police Service, to conduct investigations into this matter. The Criminal Investigation Department has since launched investigations into this matter. So that's where we are.
I feel very sad that Kwesi should be tainted in this manner. I personally feel sad. I don't know how others are going to feel, but it is the reason I personally also feel that probably, even at this time, it will be in his own interest to resign as the president of the Ghana Football Association. I make this point because, indeed, if what we are hearing on the Anas tape are true, then a decision to continue as the president of the Ghana Football Association becomes untenable. Because you know that over the years we've had serious problems of integrity and credibility about the Ghana Football Association. Right. There is a serious perception out there that this is a very corrupt outfit. you know, and there's this notion that indeed it's because of that perception of corruption that a lot of the corporate players even decided not to sponsor the league. And there's a reason we've gone 3 solid years without any sponsor for the league. So there's that perception out there to do the honorable thing and probably step aside. I don't know how this is going to pan out eventually, but I'm hoping that, nothing, really, really serious comes out, and then he can resign honorably and maybe focus on his CAF and FIFA jobs.
This is where it is. Under our laws, if you make a statement purporting it to be a fact, so that if you say that, yes, I have the president in my pocket, I can get him to do this or that for you, if that is really true, and the context, which we don't have, but if it's true and the context is that you really meant it as business, we are not joking, and you really meant it as serious business, and because of that, somebody parts with money, somebody gives you money because of this representation, then you could well be in the realms of defrauding by false pretenses, because definitely, in this case, the president is shown that he's not in the GFA president's packet. You see, at least so far, that's how it's turning. So the essence of the offense of defrauding by false pretenses in common language is that you tell a lie in order to cause another person to part with money or any other property to you. You say, so if the video is very clear, which I haven't seen anyway, and all those things, then you can sustain a charge. So it's all about the quality of the evidence.
So the defrauding by false pretense will only hold if indeed money is exchanged hands, if indeed Mr. Nyantakyi took monies on the basis of the names that he dropped. Oh,
yes. That is it. So you see, a critical issue is coming up. So I don't know if in the video you can link it to say that just upon those statements, money changed hands. And even if money did, as I say, you have to show a causal link. So it's a very technical thing. That's how come perhaps we would have to wait a bit to see what the police can find.
What if Mr. Nyantakyi simply says, well, I was just bluffing?
Exactly. So, that is how come that I've been thinking that perhaps we are running a bit of ahead of ourselves. Because, yes, if the man shows that he was bluffing, then it means that these charges may well collapse. So, we want to see justice served. That is it, bottom line. Let the police investigate, because as for the defenses it could come up, there are many, and that is just one that you've mentioned. If it turns out that the man says, look, I'm sorry, I was bluffing, then it will take a different turn.
Does the fact that the president's name was used worsen the gravity of the case against him at all in law, or doesn't matter?
Oh, it matters very well. It matters.
Right, so you've been listening to Abu Jinapor, who is Deputy Chief of Staff, a Deputy Chief of Staff. You heard Kwabena Yeboah, the veterans legend sports commentator and writer. Martin Pebu, a lawyer. And in the studio, Kweku Anasis said that, and I'm starting with you, I'm sure you find that strange. Anasis said that because it's his boy, yeah. Right. Anas has said that Anas has said that it is for the sake of more sanity and transparency that I have decided to scrape clean this tainted football system for a fresh start. The very foundation of Ghana football will collapse in a heap to be rebuilt by the concerned sports journalists and the honest football people who will remain standing. Who will remain standing? We don't know who will remain standing. Then he continues by saying, it is, okay, who will remain standing? What is he up to now to get himself in a situation where he's worried and you have become sort of his spokesperson, sort of reprimanding all those who are breaching confidentiality and stuff?
Well, I'm sure what you read only reflects the philosophy, the motivation that is driving this project. And as I indicated much earlier, this thing was, the focus is really football administration, the corruption and all those things that come with it. It is in the course of the investigative project that some influence peddling appeared from somewhere and then began to take a certain political twist. Otherwise, it's essentially a football matter. Referees, football administrators, players, and those connected associations and the rest of what they do to football in terms of its integrity.
Okay.
And you notice that all along I resisted, I restrained from mentioning names.
Right.
I kept on talking of football administrators, referees, and things. That doesn't identify anybody.
Right.
Now, unfortunately, or fortunately, a name has been mentioned. So it appears we've all shifted the focus onto a personality. And there are reasons for that. You talked of confidentiality and all the rest. Sometimes, and because I'm a journalist, I have a policy, I hardly do peer review of my colleagues or what is reported, because I myself am problematic when it comes to this work. I've caused a lot of trouble and damage all over the place before. Yes, I'm normal, I'm a human. See, when I expressed, and if you plead with me, I would want to clarify those things quickly.
Yes, go ahead.
When I expressed my disappointment at the press conference that was held by the Deputy Chief of Staff, obviously in the name of the President or Presidency, at the same time, I made the point that I understood why that had happened. But it appears that the focus was on my expression of disappointment. Also, I realized that because I used the word confidentiality agreement, some legal senses were triggered in terms of what kind of an agreement was that. I've subsequently clarified that what I was talking about was a gentleman's agreement, an understanding which had no legal effect or binding on anybody. Again, the important point is this: my disappointment was rooted seriously in the fact that I did not have prior notice of the press conference. Because if I had had the prior notice, I would then have communicated it to Anas and the Tiger Eye that, look, this is what is going to happen. The understanding that we reached with the president no longer holds for so and so reasons. And Anas and the Tiger Eye would also have communicated it to the BBC, their partners in this project, that this is what has happened. Even if it's a 30 minutes notice, it would be okay. But unfortunately, because I didn't have prior notice, I heard on Joy. It was on JoyNews, top story, that I had the first flash. So I had to make calls, and I was told that, oh, this is what has happened. And the reasons were given. The reasons were that one or two disclosures had been made on the radio station. I didn't even want to mention the fact that was Kwame's program that it happened. But Kwame forced me on Wednesday, because really, he didn't do it for mischief. You might say there was an act of indiscretion, but there was no mischief there. And I've read elsewhere people are talking of betrayal. I'm not sure they understand what the betrayal means. What he did does not amount to any betrayal. But I understood why the president, who had agreed with us that after watching the thing and giving his reaction, which is also part of the documentary, because it was part of the investigations, that look here, a day or two before the thing is shown, the presidency will be entitled to make a statement. And in the video, you see the president himself indicating that this matter ought to be given to the appropriate authorities for investigations. So that's the situation. Unfortunately, the matter is now out there. Mr. Kwesi Nyantakyi has been mentioned, first by the Deputy Chief of Staff, based on what the report, and the president has subsequently reported the matter to the police. So there's a focus there. ANAS is prepared to collaborate and cooperate with the police. Indeed, there's been an informal interaction already. The investigators have seen the material that the president saw. And please note, the president saw not more than 5 minutes, because that's what concerns him. That whole investigation, which has been going on for the last 2 years, is over 10 hours of material, which will be put out. Not all, because nobody can go and sit in a place and watch 10-hour video. So this is the situation. The focus now is on the president's report and the police investigations. Tiger Eye and ANAS are prepared to cooperate. As I indicated, there was an informal interaction 3 or 4 days ago. The investigators had the opportunity to watch. Subsequently, a package is going to be made available to them. ANAS is prepared to write a statement. And this is not the first time. Many of his investigations that attracted the attention of the state security agencies or the appropriate agencies, he collaborated. Indeed, there are cases in court that he went as a witness. And I'm sure you know about it, some of which ended in successful prosecution.
And some
conviction.
also failed.
Yes, and some also failed. Some also failed. This judges team, I think 2 judges or so went out. Majority faced the law.
Right.
And some are still facing it.
But I make a distinction between what goes to court for trial on criminal basis and what the judges suffered.
Yeah.
For the judges, it was very easy to deal with them because they were found to have breached their oath and ethics.
Thank you.
Of ex parte communications.
Yes,
right.
Fantastic. And I've been making this point. You see, and that's the one line, the ANAS undercover journalism, and it's not exclusively ANAS, it's a worldwide thing. It comes with moral and ethical challenges. There's no doubt about that. And that debate is as old as undercover journalism itself. The judges thing, as some questions that people have raised, why didn't ANAS give the judges the chance to watch what he had captured them doing? I said that's an absurdity. First of all, he triggers the constitutional procedures. 146 petitions the president. The president forwards it to the CJ, who must do a prima facie determination. The judges then had the opportunity to respond. If you look at the nature, and I'm happy that you set the framework. Now, those that went for criminal prosecution too, I mean, somebody is asking me, when he was busting or documenting the cocoa smuggling, those officials in it, they expected that after he had finished, instead of handing over the matter, the evidence to the police or to Cocoa Board, in this case, Cocoa Board sponsored that particular project, he should have called those officers and asked them what we were doing on the tape. He would not even have left that region and come to Accra alive. So there are unrealistic propositions being pushed out there. Whatever it is, those who think that there's something illegal, criminal about what he's doing, I think they know the appropriate forum to proceed to deal with it rather than engage in public debate. I have been a subject of attacks because of what ANAS is doing. Just this morning, I received somebody telling me a text, I won't mention their names for good reasons, saying that this whole thing is a conspiracy being orchestrated by the British and that it is meant to stop Morocco from winning the bid to stage the next World Cup in Africa. And that the British are doing this because they want to stage the thing. And Ghana's FA boss has become influential in FIFA and actually would have been able to persuade FIFA to bring the thing to Morocco. And so what we are doing, which is going to undermine the FA boss, is leading to Africa losing the chance to stage. Another man tells me that I have betrayed my father, who was an Nkrumahist, and that I have now joined the neo-colonialist because of BBC to do all these things to damage the Akufo-Addo administration and all that. I've decided that in terms of the lack of intellectual benefit in some of these things, I will not react seriously to them. There are those who are raising the ethical and moral issues, and they do it in a dignified way, in a very intellectual way, and then I think that is welcome for us to debate. For instance, look, if you recall the Osu Children's Home project and the Botstar thing, when Anas did, the government then, this was 2010, set up a committee, I think the E.T. Mensah committee, to investigate the matter. And the committee, after accepting the fact that the work was good in order to help to improve these systems, also actually acknowledged that some of the children captured in the video expressed their disgust about invasion of their privacy without their consent. For example, some of the children feel stigmatized and ridiculed at school. Despite all the ethical and factual concerns regarding the manner in which the information was gathered and presented, the video validated issues of child abuse and neglect. You, the undercover journalist, you have to look at the balance in terms of the public interest and see whether indeed the methods you are applying, if you apply them in the conventional way, whether you get results or not. If you had gone to the children's home school, called the management, decide, oh, these are the things we've heard, my brother, they will deny all that. If you ask that you want a situation where they can take you around the place, they will give you a day to come. By that time, everything is clean.
People's real challenge about the method is, the ethics of the method is that, look, if Anas were to use this against all of us, he might get somebody, I mean, most of us or all of us falling for it. Because he simply baits you, he traps you. He suspects that you will do this, or you may do this, or you are susceptible to, as it were, doing this. So let me put a trap. It is not as if he's catching you committing a crime.
Wait.
But he says the trap, and then you fall into it.
You just said it. You are susceptible to it. For instance, take the classic example of the judges. You know they ought not to do excommunication.
Right.
They ought not to discuss the case with the people who are involved and things. You need not take money to pass judgment. Now, so why would you be trapped? It doesn't have to happen. I say integrity is your armory. If you have integrity and you have been entrusted with public service, that must come with integrity. I don't see how you can seek refuge in the fact that you were trapped. But let me explain something. And
it's like you cannot say a woman trapped you into or seduced you, and therefore you will not be guilty of either defilement or rape.
But if you defile a kid, I cannot. It's inexcusable. I mean, I can't see how. But I thought you were going to talk about the apple. The apple.
He's fasting.
No, I don't fast for medical reasons. Okay. Yes, but we are in that mood, the season of fasting. Okay. But you see, yes. You can catch me maybe there. It's true. I have weakness there. So it's possible. That's all. But that's all. I'm not going to murder anybody.
Okay.
I'm not going to kill anybody. But if it's the woman who comes and is beautiful and has assets, I may fall for it. But you see, the truth is that, and I'm being honest, my wife is watching. When I get home, there will be some few cases. You see, in conventional journalism, even in conventional journalism, this is the National Media Commission print guidelines, news gathering. It says, as a general rule, journalists must not use or publish materials obtained by subterfuge, using clandestine devices such as hidden cameras and hidden tape recorders. Such activity, however, may be justifiable in special circumstances such as detecting and inspecting crime sites or protecting public health and safety. The GJA Code of Ethics, similar but different wording, says when it comes to obtaining information, obtains information, videos, data, photographs, and illustrations only by honest, straightforward, fair, and open means, unless otherwise tampered by public interest considerations. When it comes to the privacy side, I said, does not intrude into anybody's private life, grief, or distress, unless justified by an overriding consideration of public interest. The question that the undercover journalist will ask himself before he proceeds: one, if I apply the conventional methods, straightforward, going to interview and things, would I get the results I'm getting? If no, then you go for these exceptions.
I've gone to court on behalf of Efia Pokua and co, and the Court of Appeal judge endorsed this code of ethics, this particular section, endorsed it. But there's a difference. Anas is not putting his camera so that when you are about to steal, you are caught. He puts his camera there and puts a bait, and you take it.
And I just told you, the judge's thing was classic example. That apart from the perception that there was corruption in the judiciary, apart from instances of cases where the judiciary itself had taken action, and people shouldn't forget that some judges had been punished, sanctioned before the Anas thing. I'm not sure you know some. One even went to court challenging their processes. The people who were victims of those corruptions were talking. And then for that matter, go to Tiger Eye. These are the things happening in the court system. For years, even Parliament had done some work. Committee, you remember there was a report, parliamentary report on judicial corruption. So what do? It means that straight away the reports that come give you an idea of which of the judges are prone to that misbehavior or criminal act. You know, you have the list, 20 judges over a period of a year or two, and indeed including some lawyers, court workers, and the rest. These are the things they do. You are told this and you go to town with a mere allegation, you are in trouble, big trouble. So what you do is to set up a project to monitor those judges whose names have come to you as being involved in those exercises, criminal acts. And in the process, I bust them. Some don't forget, and some of them, indeed, the cases they were handling were the cases that they were negotiating deals on. I'm sure you know that.
Right.
So, to be honest, yes, I say if you have integrity, it will be very, very hard, if not impossible, to be trapped, if you so choose to use the word trap.
Okay. As we heard in the judges' matter, there were judges that Anas decided to celebrate, like in the sports issue too. Fantastic. He has already started celebrating some people. I remember Anas celebrated Judge Dodu, women, three women. Yes. He celebrated Georgina Mensah Dacha. He celebrated Efia, Sewa.
And my last one, there is this thing that I hear, and in fact, I think you even also said it, and that somebody said somebody is in his pocket.
Yes.
There's no such thing on the tape. Maybe it's an interpretation of what somebody said. That is what is being put out that way. Categorically, there is nothing like Kwesi Nyantakyi saying that the president is in his pocket. But he talks about his influence that he will gain if the money is coming, how they will take over the country. I suspect it's an interpretation somebody is making. I'm only talking exactitude.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Now, Doc, we have discussed a bit of the method, but let's get to what is happening right now. But in a minute, if you can talk about the method, to what you feel about the method. Is it a right method? Even if this matter had to end up in court, I mean, do you feel that Kwesi Nyantakyi, this matter will survive in court? I mean, people are already saying he will assemble the best of lawyers and they will shoot it down because it will not pass the test of admissibility in court. It will not be admitted.
Well, it will be too early to conclude that it will be admitted in courts, and whether or not he'll be able to assemble the kinds of lawyers we're talking about, I'm not in the position to comment on that. But
on the back of the recent Supreme Court decision on Article 18.2 about not invading people's privacy, privacy of their communication and correspondence, where somebody got somebody's information and you wanted to use it against the person, and the court ruled that you can't do that. You can't benefit from your own, wrong sort of.
Yeah, riding on that, that may be a very good defense. That may be a very good defense. And then also, if you want to look at the defense of entrapment, that may also be a very good defense. But you see, the information and the evidence are very scanty at this stage. It will be extremely difficult for anybody to draw a conclusion on that matter. Aside from that, when it comes to issues about using video evidence, recorded evidence in court, I mean, there are a lot of defenses, there are a lot of issues that comes up. So we have to tread cautiously. And we have to respect the person's right. I will always say that. Because the person is innocent until proven guilty.
Or pleaded guilty.
Pleaded guilty.
Before a court.
Before a court of competent jurisdiction. Good. You know, so I would tread cautiously. But again, on the process, you see, we have to be very careful in getting people to get themselves involved in matters like this. I cannot vouch for the process, and I do not also know the process, except for what people have said or I have read in papers. It is one thing knowing the exact process, but if we put an ass in the docket right now, and the judge or whoever is leading him in evidence ask him to come up with the process, it will amaze Ghanaians that the process he will put out there, people, it will nullify a lot of things people may have said. So we are all drawing conclusions from things that we've read or heard, but we've not actually gotten the gentleman or tiger PI that went through the process. Tell us this and this and this were the processes.
But just a moment. For instance, the case involving the ports, the cocoa people, some went to court, some are in jail as we speak.
Right, you're right.
All these issues too came up,
That's
whether
correct.
they are admissible or not admissible and all that. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know what those things mean.
So definitely a defense will be put up. But my advice is that we should tread cautiously. We should not draw hasty conclusions.
Abang begins by saying that the video ought not have been shown to the president in the first place.
That I disagree with him. I disagree with him because once it involves the president, and Kweku clarifies something here, that the president watched it for 5 minutes, and specifically in areas that concern the president. The president is the highest office in this country, and I think that they never showed it to the president for the president to take action. And he's clarified that bit to here. So in my personal view, I think that it was a good thing the president watched. But my issue here is, did the president took action by reporting the matter to the CID as a president or in his capacity or his personal capacity as President Akufo-Addo? That is the area we need clarity on. But in my view, they did nothing wrong by allowing the president to see it. In any way, if you look at the way they have operated, I stand to be corrected though, they do the undercover investigations and they try to allow certain selected categories of people to watch it first before it is premiered out there. Why? For a reason. Why? For a reason. So I think they did nothing wrong by allowing the president to watch it. So I would disagree with that.
I was shocked at that. What would have happened if the thing was put out without a president who has been mentioned, having been given the opportunity to rebut? What would that people have said? Okay? He's mentioned in a way that is negative. Part of the investigative process was that get his side of the story. Because
will he do that if it were not the president?
If the president had been caught himself negotiating a deal, president would not be given the opportunity to watch it. He would invoke this constitution in terms of impeachment proceedings, so that the president will have the opportunity to deal with it at the appropriate forum.
Okay. All right. Now, Doc, the Deputy Chief of Staff said the President has consulted and prima facie has been made.
That was interesting.
Yes.
That was interesting because who determines whether a prima facie case has been established? Really is the court.
Sure.
It's the court, not the President or the Deputy Chief of Staff. It's the court. But the President, in his own wisdom and as an astute lawyer, think that if he being the president or he is prosecuting this in court and he is the prosecutor or attorney general handling this criminal case, he would have established a prima facie case in his view.
So on that basis, do you think sincerely from what is available so far that the president can constitute a proper complainant in this issue? His complaint is what? What is criminal about hearing somebody mention your name and suggest that, you know, he has access to you and that if some money were given to you, certain things can happen? What's the basis? The
basis is that I'm the president of the Republic of Ghana. I have my integrity. I represent the people of Ghana. And I think the office of the president is being brought into disrepute.
No, that is not criminal.
No, I think that, you see, someone is trying to use the name of the office of the name of the president to maybe engage in illegal activities. And I think he has a point there. He has a right to defend the high office of the president, the integrity about the whole thing. So that is the issue there. If indeed that it is true But then he has some evidence. And then his initial evidence is what he watched. So he's handed it over to the appropriate authority to delve more into the matter.
Is it not the one who money may have been taken away from, or to whom the promise was made, that can constitute a proper complainant?
No, the person can do that if and only if what the president, if the president was part of it, or the president sanctioned that particular statement. But the president is protesting that I never sanctioned this, and I think that my integrity is brought in, is under this thing, so I have to complain.
So the question I'm asking you is that on this basis, from your knowledge of the criminal law, what are the potential charges for against him on behalf of the president as a complainant? What are the potential charges?
Well, I've been misrepresented, or as a president.
That's no crime.
Well, you see, there are various stages involved here in this matter. So I would say that, well, the president thinks that the person, I don't want to mention him, if it is Kwesi Nyantakyi, fine, has gone to say something about me, which is not true. I didn't sanction him.
Yeah, and that is no crime. That's my point.
In my view, it is crime because you are saying something that is not
point me
about
to
me.
Point me to, if you do that, point me to anywhere in the Criminal Code or Criminal Offences Act, which is a potential charge.
You see, to start with, when you look at Section 18, it is clear that you are attempting to commit a crime in this matter. And the police have started. I've heard people saying that we're defrauding by false pretenses, etc. Whether that one would pass is another matter. Okay. So we can start from there and proceed along those lines. But I am coming under Section 18, attempting to commit a crime.
All right.
So
Okay.
A quick one.
Yes. I need to take a break and return to...
We have 3 legs here.
Yeah.
When an is doing these things, it says name, shame, and jail.
Okay.
The name and shame remains within his remit. The jail is outside his jurisdiction.
Okay.
What happens later through investigations and court prosecution?
Another matter.
He would hope that it works.
Right.
But if it doesn't work, well,
he's done his part.
But you see, name and shame is huge as well.
As far as you are concerned, Kwesi Nyantakyi is finished, even before, if he has to go to
it hurts me. I like him. And I've backed him all along. When he was under pressure, everything, I've backed him. And I like him. So me, I'm hurt.
From what you have seen, he's finished.
Well, almost irredeemable.
Almost irredeemable.
In terms of integrity. I'm not talking the criminal aspect,
right,
which you have clearly drawn the line.
You expect that you'll be tendering in his resignation at all levels?
Well, no, I'm not sure.
In Ghana, at CAF and at FIFA?
I cannot prescribe that. But I'm saying that when you are seen peddling influence, using the name of president to mobilize cash, claiming that it will go to them, look, it is not something you can be free of. I mean, it's a disaster.
Doc, what do you say to that question? He's finished, he's done with, he will be resigning?
Not at all, and I would advise him not to resign. Because, you see, these are initial evidence. He's a lawyer, he knows how to defend himself. And I don't want us to draw conclusions here. He should not resign, he should hold on until the court, a properly constituted court of...
It's not all the time that you need a court to pronounce you before, because this is, people are going to watch him saying these things.
Yes.
And how do you think that looks on him?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't look bad until you are able to say that. Look, you have put a finger on a crime by a court. That's all about the rule of law.
We take a break. We return and we'll hear from Dr. Kwabena Donkor and Gary Nimako. You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis show. And here on Newsfile, we put Ghana first. Now, Gary, what's your analysis of this, particularly with the president inviting the police in and what has started? Nyantakyi was arrested. Okay, they say invited, but we know that
he was invited.
Yeah, we know the invitation is an arrest. Normally, that's what happens.
That's right.
And then after, we also heard that Anthony Kabo was being invited, except that the MPs think that privilege has been breached in that regard.
Well, Samson, I think that basically what happened, in my view, is the best way that the president ought to have gone, and he has so done. Why am I saying so? When you hear your name Mr. Samson Larry Ayayenene, holding a position of influence, a position of power, a position of goodwill, and another person using that name to say, I'm happy Mr. Bako has clarified the point that he didn't say the president is in his pocket. You know, I haven't watched.
So they will take over the country.
I haven't watched the video, you know, so I'll proceed on what is in the public domain. Now, that if you give me X amount of money, I'll be able to do Y and Z for you. And this is the mode of distribution.
And you need to pay the president this much.
X
you need to pay the
amount,
vice president this
very,
much.
Very well.
Yeah. Then we'll take over the country.
Very well. And then, in fact, we are even informed that about $65,000 was parted away.
Upfront.
This your okro math.
We are informed.
Gary is a very good friend, so I can say what I just said to him.
We are informed. So all this is information. You know. So basically, if
you mean was parted as in from who to who?
Well, from the so-called investors
to who?
To Mr. Nyantakyi. That's the information that we have. And also, we are also informed that he has been to the police headquarters. He has been made to watch the video, and then he has not denied the fact that it is his face in the video, and that it is his voice on the video, and the words that are being, you know, attributed to him are actually his voice. But the other matters, I will hold it to my chest. I will not disclose it for now. Basically, I think that for the president, if he has sat down, unconcerned, and waited to the premiering of this thing, it will have damned the image of the president. Seriously. Because, see, Ghanaians will have raised several concerns. What is the president going to say about this? Is he actually involved? Was these monies actually, you know, transferred to Mr. Nyantakyi? Has the president actually received these monies? The vice received these monies? Who mentioned these names? Are they also part of the whole enterprise? So I think that what Mr. Akufo-Addo Senior did with Anas by showing the thing to the 5 minutes with the president, for him to have also acted upon consultation and wise counsel to in fact report the matter to the police for further.
Same thing was done with the vice president too, just for the.
He also watched the thing. You see, so
we are left now. They are left with Cabo and Ascenso.
Right. For them now to have also.
But they took to a confidentiality, you know, agreement. And they have breached that. That's what they are not happy about.
You see,
because this is between Tiger Eye, Anas, and the BBC, and they are not excited about that.
Now you see,
Anas is hurt, and the BBC is disappointed.
You see, when it comes to an issue of crime, or potential crime, you cannot talk about confidentiality here. All right, because even as a citizen of Ghana, if a crime is being committed, and you are aware that a crime is being committed, you have a duty on you to report that crime. Failure to do so,
or even effect an arrest.
Exactly, to do so will also make you liable. So the president having been aware that yes, these are the contents of the 5 minutes video shown to me. My name is being mentioned in the video. That somebody is saying that, well, if you give me $5 million, $3 million, I will be able to do ABC for you, and you take over the whole country, you know. And these are the so-called investors, unknown to Mr. Nyantakyi. These guys were actually Tiger Eye and you know, his people.
Basically, yeah, that's the entrapment bit. That's an unethical bit.
That is the bottom line. But you see, these sting operations, mostly, these are all undercover work. You know, sometimes we lawyers have a way of saying that, well, the mode by which the evidence was obtained was unlawful because yes, there is a right to privacy, which the Supreme Court recently, the decision that you just referred to, said is illegal. But then it proceeds further to say, what about the issue about relevance and admissibility? The document is relevant, yet unlawfully obtained. What do we do with it? The way the probative value.
Okay, interesting. Just hold on briefly. Now, Doc, how do you also look at the entire side? Your colleague in Parliament, one of the leaders, already says that this is wrong. It should have been shown to the president. And more importantly, also reaching out to one of your colleagues. Well, they called him on phone also. And that is a breach of parliamentary privilege.
Let me start off by saying I'm neither a lawyer nor even a pocket lawyer.
A street one, though.
And my worry in this is the need to make a distinction between Akufo-Addo, the private person, and Nana Akufo-Addo, the president. For me, this is the most critical aspect of it. Nana Akufo-Addo, the president, embodies the Ghanaian state. He's the personification of the Ghanaian state, even though he doesn't personify our sovereignty. But he's the representative of the Ghanaian state. And therefore, we should be anything that tarnishes the Ghanaian state is a matter of serious concern. Unfortunately, as a people, arising out of over-partisanship, we have treated our presidents in a way that goes to undermine the nation state. It is therefore for me in this direction that I think the president was right to have alerted the police or to have reported to the police, even though the timing could have been, is debatable. If it was the person, Nana Akufo-Addo, that's a different ballgame.
There are people in the NDC who are saying that, look, there's an angle you can look at this, that he did that is a preemptive strike. His friendship, his friendship with the gentleman is known.
I have that on my piece of paper.
Okay.
The next question, was it diversionary? Depending on your mindset.
Divert from what?
To divert attention from the broader picture. There are people who argue that, look, for somebody to go and use your name in that way, you must have a certain friendship. And there are allegations, which I don't want to air, of a certain personal relationship. But that is not the issue. For me, Ghana is far more important than the partisan positions. I will say the same if they did this to President Mahama. And I criticize the Ghanaian, as sections of the Ghanaian media for the way they treated President Mahama. Sometimes, unfortunately, we are a people, depending on which side of the divide you stand. Anything.
But President Mahama is not the only president who has suffered.
No, I'm just using
even
that.
Opposition candidates suffered.
Yes, I'm just using that.
It's not a good practice.
It's not a good practice. President Mahama, as example, as the immediate past president. Yeah. We should be developing, and that is why I always talk about the Project Ghana. What are the lessons? Must we continue to treat our presidents this way? I will support President Akufo-Addo in reporting to the police to investigate. This will go against even some members of my party position.
They'll be angry.
But that is why we are individuals. Yes, it's a collective. Within the collective, there are individual nuances. Nana Akufo-Addo, the president, must be protected. Unless it is proven that Nana Akufo-Addo, the president, had encouraged and indulged in these activities, then we have another route of impeachment. But before that route is established, we must protect that office, not just for Nana Akufo-Addo, but for all future occupants of that position. For me, that is the biggest learning that we must do from this.
Yes, so Gary, what are you really looking at? That I've asked Doc, that question. That if there were supposed to be charges, what will they be?
Well, I think it's early days yet, and but basically
the police say they are investigating matters including corruption, potential corruption.
Well, because now it's under caution. It's under caution. I will not want to veer into potential charges because they must investigate first, and then tell us per their investigation. These are their findings, and based on their findings, they look at the law, look at the facts, and then they can charge appropriately. Because I've always said, if we charge or prefer the wrong charges, it's a ground for disaster. At this stage, they said the man has come. They made him watch the video. He written his question statement. He's going to report next week or whatever it is. Let's wait and see, because our laws are quite clear. We must always presume that the person is innocent until proven guilty. It's a criminal case. The burden is always on the prosecution to lay the charges and prove same before a court.
Beyond doubt.
Beyond doubt.
Reasonable doubt.
But sometimes when you look at the evidence yourself, and on the face of it, you have seen yourself in a video making certain pronouncements, and there is even a showing that there was consideration, or some of the monies might have parted or exchanged hands. Obviously, then you could be looking at areas of defrauding by false pretenses. You know, if indeed it turns out that that representation that you made was actually false.
Some video clips and things circulating. None of them is authentic.
Okay. Koku says there are videos, clips circulating. None is authentic. I need to tell you that there is a doctors forum at 12:30 this afternoon, and it is discussing female reproductive health and sexuality, and that is the program that has been going on since the holiday from the Joy Business. That is the Joy Business Health and Wellness Trade Show. Joy Business Health and Wellness Trade Show. It is happening at the Accra Digital Center. So you can look at going there this afternoon to participate in the discussion there. Now, I need to state this briefly. Last week on this show, Dr. Richard Etuahene, right? Dr. Richard Etuahene had made some references when he was speaking about challenges for the bank that use IT service providers for the banking sector. And he mentioned Komisi, is it? Komisi as one of such companies. And he says that he mentioned that without any malice. So if the company feel affected and its customers feel affected, he's sorry about it. He didn't intend to do anything with malice. So he's sincerely sorry about that.
And Anas wants me to put this on public record. For the avoidance of doubt, the CID is yet to be given a copy of the video, even though some of the investigators have had the opportunity to watch it. But there's an agreement to make a package and send to them. But as we speak, they do not.
Side.
Yes.
Okay. But they have their own copy already.
They don't have it. That's the point I'm making. They cannot have it.
So if it's coming from Anas, then we better take it.
You see, look, there are a lot of people who I've heard journalists and people who are sitting somewhere on radio and TV and claiming they've watched it, they've watched that. It's not true.
Okay.
Take it from me.
Right.
Apart from those who have officially given the chance to watch, nobody out there has anything.
And anybody who has watched Kweku will know. I can tell you that for a fact. Anybody who has watched Kweku will know. Now, my guests have been Abdul Malik Kweku Bako. What it means is that the Tor issue, the recirculation issue, for which that was important to have Dr. Kwesi Nyantakyi here, we'll have to table that issue again and hope that he will make time to join us to discuss those issues of national importance. My guests have been Abdul Malik Kweku Bako, Editor-in-Chief of the New Crusading Guide newspaper. Dr. Eric Odro Osai is lawyer and a governance expert. We had Dr. Kwesi Nyantakyi, who is MP, and George Ni Anda, who was here earlier and now replaced by my own friend Gary Nimako Mafo. Thank you very much. Doc, we are sorry about this. Our time is up. We are sorry about it. Doc is not excited that we couldn't discuss the energy matter.
Next week.
Sorry about that.
Not in town.
My outfit, as always, is by Letida. Have a good afternoon.